What is going on, everybody? This is the All Access Podcast. I am Bradley McKeska, your host, joined today with Mackie Gallagher. Mackie, how are you doing?
I am now doing okay. Now that we're in our seats, I am home for the day. I'm talking to you, Bradley. We're about to talk some Panther football. I will be honest, today has been a little bit irritable, but end of the day, Thursday night football comes on in like 10 minutes. We're talking. I'm happy. A better day. I wish my hat was a little less lopsided, but we can only tackle one problem at a time.
I think you look good, man. I think we've all been a little bit irritated ever since last Thursday night when J.C. Horn goes down with an unfortunate injury. He's going to be gone. Christian McCaffrey, unfortunate injury. Burris goes down with an unfortunate injury. So we'll get into all that in a second here. But again, this is the All Access Podcast. If you've been here before, we talk Panthers football on Thursdays and Sundays. If you're here from Fantasy Football or DraftKings Talk, welcome in. We're going to talk about the NFC South as well as the Carolina Panthers. Not just Panthers. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, honestly. I know Mackie has a lot of opinions that he wants to get out here as well. We're probably going to get into a little bit of Nickelback. Is that okay? We have people popping in the chat already, so hopefully they're cool with talking a little Nickelback today on the podcast.
No, that's right. Yeah, we do have a rule for the show today. We're not talking Panthers or football in the chat. The chat is strictly for Nickelback. No Nickelback slander. We're only going to talk about the Nickelback hits, which are pretty much all of them. So if you're going to hop in the chat, only talk Nickelback. I just had to get that out there. And I guarantee you that everyone is going to follow that rule. So yeah, let's get into it. I know that you brought up J.C. Horn, Bradley. Yeah. We talked about it a little bit, but man, can I first just give my condolences to J.C. Horn because he was playing like the first round draft pick that everybody expected him to be, and then that brutal injury of him just falling down and immediately waving to the sideline, and when they showed that replay, you just immediately knew that was not a good injury at all. No injury is good, but you know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm still trying to get my mind back. I just got home 10 minutes before we went live, so you got to forgive me if I got to get into the groove a little bit.
Hey, man, I forgive you. But, yeah, it was tough to see. Like, immediately he goes down, tries to grab his ankle, tries to alert everyone, hey, listen, get out here. Your boy needs to check out because it was an unfortunate injury. I mean, at first it looks like, oh, maybe he tweaked an ankle. He should be okay. Then it comes out that he actually broke 3 bones in his foot. And for someone who we were just talking about having a 0, I think you said it was a 0 passer rating that he was allowing from the slot, right? Like, that's a huge impact. That's a huge impact going up against a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who are just loaded with speed. And we'll get into this full matchup in a little bit, but they are loaded with speed top to bottom. Offensively and defensively, they have a lot of speed. And it would have been nice to have that guy that you can just trust as a lockdown guy. Even after 3 games, it's crazy that we were saying, hey, you can trust JC as like the lockdown kind of guy. He was being that alpha male out there. So, yeah, condolences to him. Christian McCaffrey, I know Olivia's probably taking really good care of him right now. So I'm sure he's fine. Burris as well. Hopefully he goes and gets healthy as well. Just a few comments real quick. Michael says that hat goes hard.
Hey, Mike Casella. That's my coworker. Shout out, Mike. Shout out, Austin. He's super soccer swag. I'm assuming in one of our dynasty leagues, he is Binkerton. That is the name of his team. Shout out to the dynasty folks showing out for the podcast. Going back to the Panther talk. Yeah. Yes, the Cowboys do have a lot of speed, and to quote that weird old guy from The Longest Yard, the Cowboys make fast people look not fast. And so losing J.C. Horn is definitely brutal. I'm expecting J.C. Horn to be out probably for the rest of the season. A broken foot, 3 broken bones. I'm not expecting him to come back anytime soon. If the Panthers keep playing the way they are playing, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, in the postseason, we'll see what happens with J.C. Horn specifically. Yeah. But I do think that the secondary for the Panthers this season has improved drastically from previous seasons. We talked about it multiple times. We both like Dante Jackson a lot. I do think Dante Jackson plays his best football when he is not the main guy that is being relied on in the secondary, and we are seeing that this season. Yeah. J.C. Horn, Jeremy Chin now with the safety position is doing great. But who? What's that? Who did we get
What
from?
is it?
Who did we get from Jacksonville?
What is it? Who's it?
Who just got
CJ?
traded to the Panthers from Jacksonville?
Christopher
Who
Henderson?
I think it's CJ Henderson.
I think it is.
So now, hold up, wait a minute. The Panthers have two first rounders from the 2020 draft and
Correct.
Derek Brown and CJ Henderson, but they have 3 players who had first round grades from that draft. CJ Henderson, Derek Brown, and Yetur Gross-Matos both all had first round grades coming into that draft. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way this Panther team is now, it's horrible that J.C. Horn is injured, but I believe he is like 22 or 23 years old. I was talking with Nick Steichweather, who's in the chat. I was saying that it is weird getting to that time in life. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Bradley. You've been there for several years, but
First
it's
off,
weird.
No need to say that. You could have just said, Bradley, we are getting old together, but it's fine. Go ahead. Carry on. Carry on.
But it's getting weird getting to the point to where the people that I'm rooting for, that I'm going to buy their jerseys, even though this is Luke, they're years younger than me. And that's a weird feeling to have. And it's also weird. And it also just really makes you wonder what you're doing with your life, you know? You know, J.C. Horn, he signs a couple $1 million, like multi-million-dollar contract. I'm over here moving money around so I can get some 4 for $4 from Wendy's that I still haven't finished eating. But the fact that J.C. Horn went down and then we were able not to replace him but gain C.J. Henderson in his absence, and then also AJ Bouye from Jacksonville as well.
Yeah.
He was active for the first time last week, did not play. I'm expecting him to come in possibly this week, sometime soon at least. Yeah. But it's unfortunate that Horn's down, but the depth that we have in the secondary this year is unlike anything we have seen in almost the past decade, in my opinion, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely the best one. I know I was watching a little bit of Panthers highlights the last time that they played the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day. Or at least maybe not the last time, but when they played them on Thanksgiving Day, and you look at that defense, your boy Kurt Coleman, who I know you love so much, and all these other players that were out there in the backfield, man, this is probably the best backfield or best defensive back situation that I can remember for a very long time, even with J.C. Horn unfortunately going down. And I just got to give one shout out to Dante Jackson's ability to tackle. He has made some tremendous open field tackles this season that I was not expecting. I did not think that Dante Jackson was that good of a tackler, but he has consistently pushed off his wide receiver that are blocking him and gone up and made a tackle in the open field to prevent a team from picking up a first down on 3 or 4 times. I think he's done it at least once a game. And that's really speaking volumes to how much he's grown. You know, he came out and he wanted to talk, he wanted to jaw, which is perfectly fine. He needs to do that. He's a defensive back, but his play is actually matching up to that. And I absolutely love him as a leader in this, in the defensive back situation that they have going on. So Dante Jackson has been fantastic this season.
No, and I completely agree with that. We talked about it before on the podcast. We're going to talk about it again. One of the main reasons the Panthers went really defense heavy in the past few drafts is because of their inability to get off the field on third down. That the poor tackling in previous seasons play into that. You could tell that was a focal point in training camp, the off season, and practice leading up to the season, and you are seeing a clear improvement when it comes to that category of the defense, when it just comes to making tackles on the first hit, especially in open fields. I've seen some great tackles so far this season to where if they missed it, they're going home to the end zone. You're just seeing fundamental plays by everyone on defense. It's nice to see. It's a good improvement. Real quick, I'm getting roasted in the chat. I am not 0-3 in 2 fantasy leagues. In 1 dynasty league, I am 0-3. That's because we got the expansion team. My best player is DJ Chark. I got to deal with what I got. And now in Nick's league, I am 1-2. Now, Bradley, I know we're off the Panther talk. Let me tell you this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Washington defense, Bradley, if the Washington defense got me -7 instead of -8, I would have won last week. If Miles Sanders
you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation.
1.2 more points, I would have won last week. I am 1-2. I am in last place, but Nick has to be humble because he did the stuff last year. And then guess who got out the first round of the playoffs? And then guess who is the champion still of that league? wanted to clear the air there. Nick can say all this stuff in the chat, although he is breaking the Nickelback rule because I've seen like 3 Nickelback messages.
Yeah, I haven't seen any compliments. And speaking of music, the halftime show was announced. And as you know, it's Nickelback this year in 2021. So I'm really thrilled to see Nickelback take the stage at the Super Bowl this season out in LA. I think there's nothing more fitting in LA than Nickelback, honestly.
Dude, I can only imagine what it would be like if Nickelback actually performed. I can only imagine the absolute hate, whatever the committee who chooses who performs at halftime would get. Because if I tweet about Nickelback in a positive light, it's as if I am at a WWE match, laying in the middle of the ring, and everyone that is sitting on the floor throws their metal chair at me. I'm happy that it's not Nickelback because, I don't want to see the slander on it. But when it comes to who is it? Kendrick, Snoop Dogg,
yes,
Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige. It's going to be a great show. I'm super excited.
It's going to be a phenomenal show.
And it's one of the first times since I've been on Twitter, since like 2012, that when they announced the halftime show,
people were hype.
Most people agree with it. Most people enjoy it. They're looking forward to it. So it's nice to see everybody on Twitter talk about that.
Yeah, it is good. And I'm not a huge fan of the halftime shows usually. That's when I'm going to get my like extra beer or another plate of food or whatever. But I really do plan on watching it this year. It's going to be an exciting show. Just like this Carolina Panthers team has been so exciting. They're 3-0. We've mentioned it. If you don't follow me on Twitter, @BradEmily, I put it as my name today so you can find me a little bit easier so you can see just how good and accurate my takes are. I said this team's going to start out with a very strong 3-0. People doubted. Mackie, people doubted me.
Well, I don't think they doubted the 3-0 start. I think it's what you put after where it's #road to 17-0.
Oh.
I think to where I'm all for that. I'm on that train. But here's the thing. They are on a roll. They are playing well. A lot of people seem to discount the opponents that the Panthers have beaten so far this season. The Jets, the Saints, and the Texans. To be honest, to be fair, one of the other undefeated teams in the league, the Broncos, their opponents have a combined record of 0-9.
Correct.
The Panthers, the Raiders, and I'm going to say the Rams, they're all undefeated, I believe. And their opponents, their total record is all 3-6. Yep. So granted, the opponents of these undefeated teams aren't that good this season. But here's the thing about football. Here's the thing about sports. Who cares? The point is you get a schedule every year. Each week you play a team. No matter who it is, your goal is to beat that team. If I'm happy that the Panthers are 3-0 up against the Jets, who was like a revenge game for Sam Darnold, even though that Sam Darnold said he isn't, even though the Jets are probably still the worst team in football because they have a lot of their star players that got injured either before the season or the first week. And then you have the Saints, who are coming off a 5-touchdown game from LASIK Jameis against the Green Bay Packers, defeating them 38-3 in week 1. And then, yes, they had a couple coaches missing because of COVID, but that's not my fault that they're not following the protocol down there in New Orleans. And also, the coaches don't play on the field. They're not playing the game. So that's still 2-0. And then the Texans on Thursday night. I'm just happy that the Panthers finally got a win on Thursday night. Damn, it feels like I haven't gotten a win on Thursday night in the last 7-8 years. But here's the thing.
Time.
Thursday night is still cursed for Carolina because Christian McCaffrey's out for a few weeks. J.C. Horn got hurt. Yeah. DJ Moore looked a little scared or looked a little worrisome later on in the game. But that's beside the point. I think with the Dallas Cowboys coming up on Sunday at 1 p.m., it's going to be in the national eyes or for the national media, the first big test for the Panthers.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm liking what I'm seeing from this team, honestly. If they play good football and don't turn the ball over, which is something that they're not really doing so far, knock on wood, I don't see any reason why the Cowboys are significantly better than what the Panthers are right now. And the last thing I'm going to say before you can take over is we all remember the last time the Panthers went to Dallas when they were undefeated. Thanksgiving 2015. This man right here put on a clinic. So honestly, it should be a great game, but I'm not very worried for the Panthers right now.
Yeah, I was going to say the last time they were there, I think Kuechly had 2 interceptions. Kurt Coleman and Kuechly both had a pick 6 each. And And so it's exciting to be going back. Even Nick says Shaq's 33% less butt cheeks than he used to be. Agreed. It's because he lost a digit, lost a little bit of weight. He's only down to number 7 now. Krusty Craig says, let's go Cowboys. And that guy's ass. We've been over this. Ain't nobody listen to Krusty Craig, a.k.a. Alex. We all know who that is. But this Carolina Panthers defense is good. And to go back to what you said, where their combined opponents are 3-6. If the Panthers didn't win those games, then their opponents are 6-6, which really isn't that bad. But if the Panthers win, someone has to lose. It's logical to think one team wins, one team loses. I know that sounds simple, but they can't both win, so they both can't be 1-0 or 2-0 or 3-0. So of course the record's going to be a little bit skewed. It's in the past. But I want to switch over to this offense because you said that this is a really, really big matchup, and a lot of people agree. This is a huge matchup. This is the Cowboys saying, hey, we are for real, even though you already lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of people are saying the Panthers have a lot to prove. They're 5.5-point underdogs in this game. Sam Darnold in this offense going up against what people are now trying to say Cowboys is a revitalized defense, even though they're down DeMarcus Lawrence, even though they're down with some injured players out in the backfield, even though Trayvon Diggs is one of the most aggressive players, and I think he has 3 interceptions on the season already, maybe 4. Like, he has a lot of interceptions.
He was just the NFC Defensive Player of the Month, I believe.
Yeah, Micah Parsons generating a ton of pressure as a edge rusher, which is not even his natural position since college. How is this offensive line going to hold up against them? How is this offense going to do against them? I have a lot of faith in it. I think they're going to do okay. Keep Tommy Tremble in there to block. Pray to God that Chuba Hubbard can pick up some blocks in the backfield. And I think if you give Darnold time, a couple of these double moves, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, 2 very skilled wide receivers, are going to have a big day against a bad, still in my opinion, a less than average Dallas Cowboys defense. I'll say that.
No, I'll say like the Cowboys. They are good this year. They're better. Like I
vastly improved. Dan Quinn's doing a great job.
Yes, I think Dak Prescott's a great quarterback. I think him being back for the Cowboys is it makes them a completely different team. Ezekiel Elliott on what was it? Was it Monday night when they played? Yeah, it was Monday night because Miles Sanders lost me the matchup. When it was Monday night against Philadelphia, Ezekiel Elliott had a good game, and Zeke has kind of been quiet the last few years. They'll have those games to where it feeds Zeke a touchdown or 2 over 100 yards, but you're not seeing that as consistently from him. But with this offense for the Panthers, one thing that I was talking to my friend Nick about was I didn't like how the offensive line just looked completely different once Christian McCaffrey came out of the game. I know this offensive line isn't the best in the league. I have been fairly impressed with their play so far this season. You know, we just extended Taylor Moton, who is the anchor behind that. Matt Paradis, I think, is doing a great job. I believe Pat Elflein, the offensive lineman we just got from the Jets, I think he is out this week. I think he is dealing with an injury. Correct. And, like, you have Cam Irving, Dennis Daly playing for him. I didn't like how vastly different, though, the offensive line looked once McCaffrey got out. But with that to say, I do like how comfortable Sam Darnold has been in the pocket all 3 games. He stays in the pocket. He's buying time, as much time as he can. And he just looks very cool, calm, and collected, even though the pocket may be collapsing down around him. Yeah. I'm interested to see Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. Joe Brady is speaking very highly of him. I know a lot of the Panther fans, including myself, were happy with the draft pick. I think he is a good backup for Christian McCaffrey. We also have another running back, Royce Freeman, who I think is bigger in stature to where he might be used in the blocking game. And then you have Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble. I think you're going, like you said, I think those 2 players are going to be mainly focusing on just providing extra protection for Sam Darnold this game. Robbie Anderson, outside of that 1 catch for 57 yards, including the touchdown on that catch, hasn't really seen much of him. Not really his fault. He only has like nine targets so far this season. DJ Moore, 8 catches for like 126 yards against the Texans. He's going to be going up against Diggs. That is a matchup that people should be watching.
That's because a good matchup.
It's a great matchup. You have a very, very good wide receiver, probably like top 7, top 10 in my opinion with DJ Moore. He is definitely one of the most slept-on offensive players in the NFL, where he is continuously providing that help for the Panthers on offense. He will catch pretty much anything that comes near him, whether it's contested or not. We talked about DJ Moore's ability to attack the ball and get in front of defenders and catch it at its highest point. And then Robbie Anderson, he has that deep threat. I want to see him more involved in the offense. which I do think we will get with Christian McCaffrey being out. Same thing with Terrace Marshall Jr. I do think that this is going to be a decent game for TMJ. He's been getting about 3 to 5 receptions a game. That first week he was targeted 3 times in the end zone. I was really happy to see them be aggressive with him the first week. I think he's going to have more touches, but I want to see how the Panthers spread the ball around. I do like Joe Brady. There have been a few times this season where there have been some sequences of play calling to where I just didn't really understand.
Agreed.
But also I sell finance software. I'm not an offensive coordinator in the NFL. When it comes to Christian McCaffrey being out, though, he has been the focal point of the offense pretty much ever since he has been on this team, especially since the Panthers have moved on from Cam Newton. So I'm excited to see the adjustments they make, and I've said it 3 times already. I want to see how they spread the ball around. The Panthers have weapons for Sam Darnold. They put Sam Darnold in a good position, and Sam Darnold has so far excelled as the quarterback of the Panthers. He ranks like top 10 in pretty much every category so far through 3 weeks. Yes, it is only 3 weeks, but now with Christian McCaffrey being out, the defense normally game plans for Chris McCaffrey. They normally plan on him getting all the touches. Yep. They're game planning all around. I want to see what Sam Darnold does with the weapons that he's provided this week. Same thing with Joe Brady.
Arnold in his meeting said that he really, really liked the play calling that Joe Brady had put out there in the second half, how they were taking these deep threats. And I think that goes a little bit back to the fact that Christian McCaffrey is always open. He is so good that he is legitimately always open. Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater as well took too much comfort in that. They were played more reserved, which there's nothing wrong with. You're going to get the ball down the field eventually. But without him, I think he's going to be a little bit more willing to take these chances because you don't settle. And settling might be a bad word because it's still effective. Christian McCaffrey is still one of the best players in the league. He's still putting up phenomenal points. What was it, 98 rushing, 96 receiving week 1?
Oh, he leads the league. I knew going into week 3. I don't know if he still does, but he leads the league in scrimmage yards a game like he always does.
Yeah, and so it's tough to say that this offense could be better without him, but I think the chances downfield might be more. What am I trying to say? There might be more chances that are taken down the field without Christian McCaffrey on the field because the comfort zone of only throwing it 5 yards down the field is not there. And I'm excited about that. And I don't fear having a turnover. I don't fear the 30-yard interception because I think this defense can still hold their own. I don't want to see a lot of interceptions, but this defense has got your back. And Sam's got to have a little bit of comfort in that, in knowing that this defense is not going to let him down and they're going to get the ball back in case there is a turnover. You know, on a 3rd and long, or if you go for it on a 4th down and it's a 30, 40-yard interception, to me, that's just as good as a punt. Like, let this defense get back on the field, get the ball back to you, and we'll try it again later.
No, I agree completely that the interception isn't good, especially for fantasy purposes, for stat purposes. But the faith, I'm with you on that one, Bradley. The faith, I have in this Panther defense, it's way up there. I love the way I'm seeing the Panthers are usually known. You know, in every successful year in 1996, I believe, 1996 and 2003, 2013 through 2015, the reason the Panthers found success because it started with the defense. No matter what the offense did, the defense came through. The defensive front has been iconic for the Panthers throughout their franchise for certain periods of time. You're seeing it again. Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns on each side. Then you have Derek Brown in the middle, followed by Davion Nixon. Who's behind him? Shaq Thompson. Yeah. You can move Hassan Reddick back there. Who's behind them? Jeremy Chin. Shaq Thompson wearing single-digit number 7. That's John Beeson right there. That's Thomas Davis. We are seeing a different side of Shaq Thompson than we saw last year after he got the big contract, which I am loving. The defensive front, the front 7, is huge for the Panthers. J.C. Horn being down hurts. Krusty Craig asked about how we feel about the Stan Arnold trade. I love it because you drafted a young tight end in the draft. He gets a touchdown. The coaches have clearly seen stuff through the offseason and so far through 3 weeks that they think Tommy Tremble can be a great first-string tight end, followed by Ian Thomas. And then in addition, you get another cornerback filling that void that is there because J.C. Horn is hurt. We get a 5th-round pick. Jacksonville gets a 3rd-round pick. It was sad seeing Dan Arnold go. As a broadcaster, I love Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold. Rest in peace to that phrase that I think lived for like 2 or 3 months. But you gotta take the opportunities that are there in front of you. And C.J. Henderson being available for a tight end and for a 3rd-round pick, you gotta take that. With that defense, I have so much faith in them. I have so much faith in the offense so far because the offense has been clicking. There have been some slow starts the first 2 weeks in the second half. It was that classic Panthers off to a strong first half start, kind of dwindled down in the second half. Sam Darnold, I believe, agreeing with you on the downfield opportunities, you're going to see him go deep a little more solely because, like you said, that safety net of Christian McCaffrey 5 to 10 yards in front of him or on the flats won't be there. I'm not going to be surprised if they're using Chuba in the passing game.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just think I'm sorry. I just think you're gonna have this is the best game to watch if you're waiting for that Panthers offense to spread the ball around.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see them spread the ball around. And as you mentioned, the trade that happened, shout out to Scott Fitterer because all these moves that he made are phenomenal. And I cannot complain one bit about any of them. A lot of people wanted Richard Sherman. I get it. I wanted Richard Sherman. But I think I would kind of prefer to have C.J. Henderson. J.C. Horn will be back eventually, right? Well, Richard Sherman would get you maybe 1.5 to 2 solid years left, right? He's 33. I think he's about to be 34 years old. He's far more athletic than me, so don't let what I'm about to say, be too insulting when I say it. But he's got maybe 1 or 2 years left in his NFL prime life, if not already gone by it. He's a free agent for a reason, I would assume. Now you go and get, like you said, C.J. Henderson, who was a first-round pick last year, a first-round talent. You can get
top 10,
a top 10 pick. You can go and get 5 to 7 years, possibly 5 to 7 years out of this guy, who still has 3 years left on his rookie deal, and is much younger than Richard Sherman. So shout out to Scott Fitterer for making that happen. Even though they did reach out to Richard Sherman, he confirmed on his podcast that they went out with C.J. Henderson because I absolutely love that move. I know he's happy to be out of Jacksonville, who's apparently already struggling tonight, Thursday night. So I think he's happy. A lot of people criticized, well, maybe not a lot, but a few people criticized his press conference, kind of his demeanor, I guess. And man, he's just a quiet guy. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Josh Norman, when he first got here, he was just a quiet guy. Like, there's a lot of people who just don't like doing interviews. Even Sam Darnold doesn't like doing interviews. He's just quiet.
Yeah, and this is coming from a guy who wants to work in media, but there are sometimes people just want to play the sport and they're not going to give you that much in the interview. And I mean, that's no reason to straight up attack him. I've seen some people on Twitter think that they're just blowing his press conference way out of proportion. The dude moved cities in the span of 1 or 2 days. He just got told he was traded, moved from Jacksonville to Charlotte. He has to figure out where he wants to live. He's talking to the travel agent for the Panthers. Then he has to go straight to practice. Now he has to do an interview. He's had a rough week. Not a rough week, but just a very tiresome week.
Yeah.
So
I get jet lagged on a 2-hour flight to Atlanta, man.
That's and it's just been a lot of travel, and it's a very busy week. And from what I have seen and what I have read of CJ, he's naturally a quiet guy. Not everybody is super talkative, which you don't need him to be talkative. You want him to just go out there and just play the game. And he is clearly has the skills that the Panthers desired. Going back to Scott Fitterer, he is a great fit for Carolina. Fitterer fit. Sorry. But that's why I like that Dan Arnold CJ Henderson trade, because we gave up a 3rd. We got a 5th round back. We have seen what Scott Fitterer has done in the later rounds. So that 5th round, I can definitely see Scott Fitterer turning that into something that helps the Panthers down the road. And Richard Sherman would have been nice to have him. It is not the Legion of Boom Richard Sherman that we once knew with Cam Chancellor and
Achilles tendon.
Yeah, it's not that one. It's not the I'm the best. When you put Michael Crabtree against me, that's what you're going to get. It's not that Richard Sherman. But I will say, especially for the young secondary that the Panthers have, I would have loved that Sherman signing because it would have been similar to what Tampa Bay gave him, 1 year, $2.5 million. But it would have added that veteran presence when the average age of your secondary is 24, 25 years old. Having someone like Richard Sherman just to help teach them throughout practice and give them notes during the games would be very invaluable for the Carolina Panthers. I'm excited with the way they went. And David Brown's asking about the future. Do we have faith in AJ Bouye? What's the acquisition of Henderson mean for Dante Jackson? Let's not think about that right now. I think what these acquisitions mean and what Fitterer and Matt Rule and David Tepper are doing by going out and actively making trades and bringing people into camp, they are showing that the Panthers, although they are young, they have a lot of pieces that they're filling in right now. They are out to win right now.
Yeah.
Last year, people were saying the Panthers were rebuilding, which they were. But the fact that the Panthers finished 5-11 with 8 losses coming from Teddy Bridgewater not being able to go down the field, because as a QB stat, he was 0-8 on potential game-winning and game-tying drives to end the game. If we won 4 of those, the Panthers would be 9-7 if we won half of those 0-8 scenarios. And I'm going into last season, I said with Matt Rule, with a brand new head coach, offensive and defensive coordinator, one of the youngest teams in the NFL, brand new players, I just wanted them to be competitive. And that's exactly what they were. And then you get a full offseason with the squad. You bring in veterans on defense and offense. You go out and draft great. You bring in a new young quarterback that's 23 and has 3 years of experience. And now they're off to a 3-0 start. Phil Snow, who some people were calling for Phil Snow's head for the first 6 or 7 weeks last year, who turned it around that second half of last season. And now the Panthers are number 1 in a lot of categories on defense 3 weeks in. Yeah. Like right now, if the Panthers were rebuilding last year, if they keep it up on this trend, this might be one of the fastest rebuilds in NFL history. I like all of these acquisitions. Personally, I have no idea what this means for the future of a few players that were on the Panthers before this season and last, because, secondary signings, the Panthers, with a different regime, different owner, different GM, they have not signed some of the studs that we've had in the secondary, like Josh Norman, like James Bradbury. But who knows? I'm just excited to see the Panthers making in-season moves, going out to get players that are actively and instantly making their team better.
Yeah, you got to love the fact that it's not just complacency of next man up mentality. Like, hey, the solution to the problem is on the roster. We need to find it. Well, you know what? That's not always the case. Sometimes you do have to go out there and find it. I'm very confident that the defense would have been okay and serviceable without the signing of C.J. Henderson, but to go out and get him is monstrous. And I'm going to put out my 2 cents here for David Brown, saying, what does this mean for Dante Jackson's future? I don't think it means anything. I think Dante Jackson's going to be re-signed. We talked about his elite tackling that he's had. He was named a captain this year. I find it hard to believe that you're not going to at least try to bring back a guy that's seen as a captain on this defense. He is a leader on this defense. Surprisingly, I think he's the 4th oldest player on this defense.
Which is wild.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing that. I think it probably speaks for AJ Bouye. I think they do have confidence in him, but don't forget he's 30 years old. I think he turned 30 in August. So I think this just means more for him, man. You have C.J. Henderson locked down for 3 years. He's serviceable. Don't forget, you still have question marks at the safety position. Maybe Bouye switches over there where it's less, a little bit less work for him, and he's more of a manager, just kind of like Chin is, where you get to point things out and keep a bird's eye view from the back. And so maybe that's an option, but at least you have bodies in the building that can put in the work. So I'm excited to see how this backfield plays out, because 6 months ago we were saying defensive backs are the problem, man. We got Brian Burns, that's okay. We got a decent middle linebacker, but those cornerbacks are worrying us, and everyone wanted to go after and get a quarterback in the draft, but they got Sam Darnold. They're like, hey, we still need Justin Fields. Well, now suddenly the defensive back situation is a whole lot more relieving. And Nick says 30 equals almost dead. Listen, if that's what you think that I meant, then that's not what I meant. But at the same time, as Mackie said, we're all getting old, and all these kids are much younger than us that are out here, putting their bodies on the line every single week.
That's true. I put my body on the line maybe twice, Mackie, 3 times a week.
Did you go running today?
Do what?
Did you go running today?
I did go running today, man. I haven't been running that often.
Pulled a muscle just talking.
I know. My chest. I need some ice. But I think he just brought back PTSD from me running. I was like, I did go running. Don't make me bring it up. But no, I did go running. And for a quick second, I want to announce that I am never buying another pair of Beats headphones ever again. This was the first time I have ever ran with these headphones, dropped like $60 on them, and they would literally connect and then disconnect within 3 seconds. Connect, disconnect, connect, disconnect.
Did you buy them off Wish?
Do what?
Did you buy them off Wish?
I bought them from an airport kiosk in Austin, Texas, so I don't think it's much better.
That's even worse, man. The markup on that is immense.
Dude, it was brutal. Like that's one of the most frustrating things to me. It's like I already struggle being active, and then when I am active, you're gonna take the music from me, Beats. You're gonna take the music from me, Dr. Dre. I love that you're performing in the halftime show, but make a better product, man. But no, I did go running, and when I do run, I need to recover for at least 3 weeks. So the fact that these players can put their body on the line just for us to come on here and talk for 30 to 45 minutes about them, I appreciate it. I have so much respect for what they do. But I was going to say one thing with the Panthers this year is that every time they come onto the field, both offense or defense, I'm not like super worried. Like I have a certain expectation that I haven't felt in the last few years as a Panther fan.
Yeah.
That at any moment, someone on each end of the ball can make a huge play. At any moment, Sam Darnold can drop a 40-yard bomb to Robbie Anderson, who's behind the defense for a touchdown. Yeah. At any moment, the offensive line can create a running lane for McCaffrey or Chuba for him to just get a 30, 40-yard run. I like how with the players we have, it's not so easily predictable. With some of the offense we had last year, the safeties could come up because our quarterback wasn't that good with getting the ball downfield. Granted, that quarterback is 3-0 this year, so maybe he feels the same way, that he just needed a different system. But with the team we have now, it's like a whole new revitalization of a fan just watching good football for 3 straight weeks, which is something I feel like we haven't experienced in a while. And I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I am ready for the Panthers to extend Hassan Reddick right now. Brian Burns is having a stellar season, but Hassan Reddick is right there with him. Yes. I said this before.
Yes.
My 2 favorite acquisitions were Hassan Reddick and Dan Arnold. Rip Dan Arnold at Jacksonville. You ain't going to be having much success down there. And Hassan Reddick has not let me down. He has made that take age like a good old fine wine. I'm super excited to see what he does for the rest of the season, because him and Brian Burns have a total of like 17 tackles, like 5 or 6 sacks. The Panthers pressure rate for the first 3 weeks is like 49% on half of the snaps that the defense are playing.
Insane.
They are getting to the quarterback. That's like one of the best stats you can get or have as a defense, is just rushing that quarterback. And before I stop talking again, shout out Nick Steichleather. Extend DJ Moore. I was so surprised that they extended Robbie Anderson before they extended DJ. I like the Robbie move, but DJ Moore has been so stellar. The only little spot on his resume were the multiple fumbles his rookie season.
Year. We haven't seen it since.
Those are so easy to fix. Once he fixes them, they're going to be a great wide receiver. Yeah. They were fixed, and look at what he's doing now. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he looks phenomenal.
I'm just so excited, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, man, you have, like you said, you bring in the right veterans who have been in a winning culture. You keep some of the right veterans around here that have that Carolina culture. You bring in young guys that don't know any better. It's stupid, naive, want to win, because that's what we did in college. So now we're here to win. And they're buying into the Matt Rule college coaching system that they say, like, hey, he can't coach NFL players. He's a college coach. Well, his team's mostly college players. What's the transition from college to the NFL? There's nothing more comforting than that. And shout out to David Screws, who's probably on my side right now, because 17-0, we might go undefeated. You darn tootin' right, man. They are going 17-0. I mean, I'm probably wrong. But one of the last things I wanted to mention is something that it's kind of mind-blowing to me. The Panthers have generated a ton of 3-and-outs, a ton of short drives. They have been on the field less than, I think, all but one defense. I think time of possession, I think they are on the field less than 31 or 30 other defenses. They are still top 5 in the league in group tackling. meaning everyone is moving to the ball. So even though you're on the field for 15 less plays as a defense, you're still group tackling at a higher rate than most of these other guys, which means you are absolutely moving as a cohesive unit. Everyone knows where everyone else is going to be. So that does kind of worry me that, J.C. Horn is not there, but they say A.J. Boye has been practicing and was practicing during his 2-game suspension anyway, so that he's very comfortable in the system that he has. And I think people are going to be confident that he has their back because they are legitimately thinking as it's 11 brains acting as one, and this defense is going to continue to excel, whether it's him, C.J. Henderson, or Chandler as a safety, because we can't forget that Burris is also down too. So it'll be interesting to see, but this is a team tackling event, and also Dan Arnold just stepped onto the field for the first time for the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm. He did. Hey, shout out Dan Arnold. Now that group tackling, that's a group project I can get behind. All through college, they said partner up with the group. Look to your left and right. They're going to be your partner for this project. F that. I don't care about no damn group project in school, but when it comes to the football field, nope. I want to see nothing but the group. Now, the Panthers, going back to Matt Rule, a lot of people were skeptical. He's coming out of Baylor. How can he connect to the players? How can you go from excuse me, these Wendy fries are getting stuck in my throat. How can he go from the college football scene to the National Football League? One thing I am seeing from players, and I don't care what any media says. I don't care what I see on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. If the players say something, I'm going to listen to it. And one thing that I'm seeing from the players, both on the Panthers and former players and Matt Rule, is they have never really met a coach that connects to players the way that Matt Rule does. When they went to the Senior Bowl, you saw Matt Rule coaching up. You saw Matt Rule coaching up the young guys, and you just see everybody buying into what he's saying, the eye contact, the posture. He has a way to connect with them. He's a great talker. He's a great speaker, and he has a way of talking to where you know that he believes in you. It's not that basic coaching talk that you hear at the press conferences or that basic pregame speech. You can tell that he is really behind his players, and he truly believes that everyone on that 53-man roster can contribute to the Panthers winning the game. And that's what you want in a football coach. And I'm loving what Phil Snow is doing now, because Matt Rule has never coached a snap of football without Phil Snow as a defensive coordinator. And you are seeing that cohesiveness, that collaboration, that chemistry on the sideline between Matt Rule and his defensive coordinator and Snow play out on the field. As David Screw said, that Terminator defense, LOL. I agree with you, man. This defense is back to that 2013, 2015 period. I'm super excited. And as a young Panther fan, all I am thinking of is how, because I mean, in the past, when I was a kid, you had Mike Rucker, you had Chris Gamble, you had these defensive legends. I'm just picturing, I still agree with his decision, especially if he thinks it was the best decision for him. But imagine what Luke Kuechly in this defense would look like.
Would be scary.
Oh, that's all. Like, I just constantly think, because I love Cam Newton. I loved him when he was with the Panthers. I want him to have nothing but success with whatever his future holds. He was a vital part to that 2015 season. He was the MVP. He had a great couple seasons there towards the tail end before his injury. But Luke Kuechly played the biggest part in the constant success that the Panthers had in recent years. And I know Nick is saying young Panther fan, making fun of me. I mainly meant that, like, I was born in 97. The Panthers became a team in 95. So we're that, like, first generation that is being brought up with the Panthers to where they have been in our lives the entire time. But, yeah, earlier on in the show, I did make fun of how I'm older than pretty much half of the team or half of the Panthers team right now.
Yeah,
so maybe that wasn't the best word.
Yeah, you're getting up there in age. So
I am. I'm getting old, brother.
I just have one last question before we get out of here. It's about just a few minutes left in the show. So again, thank you so much for hopping in the chat. If you are here, we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the Nickelback songs and preferences that you have, and just kind of giving us what we should be listening to for the Super Bowl halftime show with Nickelback. I think Rockstar will probably be the opening song.
Hey, 2022, baby, Nickelback. He just sounds angry when he sings, and I kind of like
all
it.
the time. Listen, you know what? I still enjoy it sometimes. But I have two last questions for you. Number one, I do want to get a score prediction. Don't forget that it is a 5.5 point favorite right now for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if this defense, going back to even last year, even against like the Kansas City Chiefs game or the Green Bay Packers game, this defense is not going to let us get blown out. The Panthers have done relatively well against the spread, especially on the road in their last like 10 games. I think they're 8-2 in their last 10 games against the spread on the road. So this defense is going to let us go. So I want a score prediction as well as your player of the game. Christian McCaffrey's not there, so who's going to be that guy that steps up with the biggest stat line? Sam, Robbie, DJ, et cetera, et cetera. So what are your two thoughts on that, Mackie?
I think it's going to be relatively high scoring, which means I don't know if this really counts as high scoring. The Panthers haven't really been a high scoring offense so far. They've created a cushion for the defense to uphold, which they have. Mm-hmm. I think the Panthers are going to cross 30 for the first time. I think Sam Darnold is going to come out with more of a fire in this game than he did for the Jets game, because the Jets game, as he should have, he didn't think of that as a revenge game, as he said many times. It was just another game. Now, as a young quarterback on a team that's 3-0, who is going against their first test of the season, I think Sam Darnold wants to prove that, yes, these numbers, him having some of the highest stats as a quarterback this season, isn't a fluke. With Christian McCaffrey not here, I think Sam Darnold wants to prove that he can get an offense going with the weapons that are provided, not with the star running back who's getting paid the most money for the Panthers. I'm going to say 31-27, Panthers win. They extend the streak, and I think Sam Darnold is going to be the MVP of the game. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to have the most perfect game. He might have a turnover or two, but I do think he will have more touchdowns than he has turnovers. He is tied for the lead, he's tied for the lead for most rushing touchdowns in the NFL with Derrick Henry with 3. So he likes to use his legs in the red zone. And real quick, in the red zone, we have seen so much success with the Panthers spreading out the offense 5 wide and making the defense spread out. And then we have scored the first play every single time we've done that. I would have loved to see that. Sam Darnold's going to be my MVP. I think he is going to have over 300 yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns, whether they're rushing or passing. I'm not, like I said, not expecting a perfect game from him. Defense is going to hold the Cowboys offense, but they're definitely going to get some scores in there. I'm excited to see. I know I'm ranting a little bit. I think the Panthers will do good in holding Ezekiel Elliott to not having a stellar game.
I can see.
I'm excited. I'm interested to see what the Panthers defense does against Dak's passing game. Dak's a great passer. He can air that ball out. Bounce it backward. He can go over 400 yards easily. I want to see once they stop the run, because I'm planning on the defense stopping the run. That's their main thing. I want to see how the secondary now with C.J. Henderson, with possibly A.J. Bouye and no J.C. Horn, can deal with Dak's arm. 31-27, Panthers win. Sam Darnold MVP.
I could absolutely see it. A couple of things that we see in the chat. 24-21 Panthers is one thing. Someone says Chuba is going to get 150-plus yards. I'm hoping that scrimmage, if he gets 150 rushing yards, that's phenomenal.
That's insane.
I don't know if they've done that this year. I think Sam Darnold's going to have a big game. We mentioned earlier, if this offensive line can hold up that defense from the Cowboys, they have gotten a lot of turnovers this year, so that does scare me a little bit. But they've been very, very aggressive. Trayvon Diggs has broken on a lot of the first moves from a lot of these wide receivers. We saw it last week against Philadelphia and Devonta Smith, where his eyes were just glued in the backfield. A couple of pump fakes. I think Sam Darnold can play him off. Carolina Panthers have not trailed. I think they trail for the first time in this game, unfortunately, but they get a little bit of grit. That defense locks down. They hit a new milestone. They come back. They win this one 4-0. I think it's going to be 27-24 Carolina Panthers in a very, very close game. Again, I think Carolina does trail for the first time. But, yeah, I got to be with you. Sam Darnold, and I think Robbie Anderson finally gets it going in this one.
I really do think Robbie Anderson is going to be brought back into that offensive game plan. I think he's going to get at least 5 to 10 targets next game.
Oh, yeah.
I do think this will be a one-score game easily. It can go either way, to be honest. It really can. This Cowboys team is better than in past years. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup is injured, but he's a good slot receiver for them. And the defense, like you said, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, They're a good defense. How crazy would it be, though, if the Panthers finish this game, get the W, and they still haven't trailed 4 weeks into the NFL season?
That would be monstrous. I mean, I would be ecstatic. Like, that would finally, all the big medias would still have an issue with it. Like, hey, it's because they didn't have Michael Gallup.
This game,
it was a
if
short
the Panthers
week.
win this game, they're going to find a way not to still not credit the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. Even if they hold it tight, they're going to say that, you know what, we'll get into it if we have to, but I'm not. I'm sticking to positive vibes only in the world. They're going to come out of this game with a W, 4-0 Carolina Panthers on the road to 17-0, because it's happening, Mackie. It's happening.
It's happening. I'm down to end it right there. I know we didn't really talk many stats. We didn't really talk analytics. I just wanted to get on here on the All Access podcast and just talk about what I am loving so far from the Carolina Panthers. That's exactly what we did. I am cool to call it quits after giving our predictions, our MVPs, and furthering our chance down the road to 17-0, like you said.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Guys, thank you so much for hopping in here and joining us. Chat, you're popping. Thank you so much for hopping in here. Nick, David, and the other David, and everyone else that was in here, guys. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much for getting in here. We'll see you this weekend. Follow us on Twitter, at All Access, at Mackie Gallagher, at Brad Emily. Let's talk some Carolina Panthers over there. We'll see you this weekend. Have a good one.